The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the Christmas tree, glimmering light, I am right where I wanna be. I will be home for a couple of days, wander around with you. You and me in the cold, thought it'd never be true. Wherever I go, I got you. Oh, I have stopped running, there is no way trying. You better loosen your belt. Drinking hot wine by the fire, don't care of anything else. It's Christmas.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 25 Days of Christmas, an Advent podcast where we talk about a Christmas movie or special every day until December 25th. I'm Patricia and I'm here with my sister Carlene.
Hello everyone.
So today we're going to be leaning more towards the classic side. We're going way back into 1942 with the film Holiday Inn starring Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire. Now, it's actually interesting because I was looking up some more classic movies to add into our repertoire, and this one seems to be one that a lot of people seem to put onto their list as like one of the best Christmas specials ever made.
I think it was suggested by one of your listeners, right?
No, it wasn't. The other
okay.
one that we're going to be talking about was suggested by one of our listeners. But no, this is one that was actually in our list.
Oh, okay.
So let's talk about the plot synopsis. So it involves with two men by the name of Jim and Ted, and they have a female dancer by the name of Lila. Jim wants to retire and marry Lila so that they can be able to have a nice farm in Connecticut. But Ted is suggesting that they go out into Hollywood and they perform dances across the country. And Lila decides to leave with Ted while Jim is alone on his farm. He decides to come up with the idea of turning his farm into a Holiday Inn so that 15 days out of the 365, which is more or less the holidays, he can be able to open up the Holiday Inn and have performances and music played. So there's a lot of things in this story. So we're probably going to go into like little plots and details. So I think that one of the things that a lot of people seem to compare this to is the 1954 film White Christmas, because the song White Christmas is actually played in the movie, which makes a lot of sense because the film and the song came out in the very same year, 1942, and the person who wrote that song, Irving Berlin, actually wrote the story for this movie. So there's a lot of parallels between the two, even though that when looking back into it, White Christmas seems to be the more revered film, while Holiday Inn seems to be pushed along towards the side, but it's still regarded as a classic. So let's talk about what we liked about this movie.
I think there's a lot of things that are really nice about this movie. I personally like the concept of someone who looks at their life and sees that the rat race, the constant chase of glory and fame and money, it's exhausting. And he wants to live a more fulfilling and meaningful life, and he wants to have more of his time be his own. And he goes out and chooses to purchase this farm, and he quickly realizes how much work it is. But he tries to find the best of both worlds. He tries to find that slow pace change in life while also kind of leaning into the fact that he was someone who was really doing well in show business.
Yeah, he was a very, very good singer.
Yeah. And so he creates this concept of opening up his farm those 15 or so days a year and inviting people to enjoy song and dance and kind of put on performances. Mm-hmm. So the music is great. The dancing is great. I like the storyline. I think it's interesting. It speaks to, personally now, I think more recently, especially after the pandemic, I think people saw a shift and realized, how important it is to prioritize your own health and wellness in your own life, because work can be forget the word, but it essentially like you have it here and it's gone tomorrow. So there was some like comedic points, that were fun. The filming was very nice. The relationships were, I think, were interesting. I think for a movie, it's fine and it's enjoyable if it was like the friendship between the two guys and their dynamics when it comes to romantic relationships for a movie is fine. For real life, I don't think it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's okay for, like, they both were in competition, it seemed, always for women. But it almost seems more so that, like, Bing Crosby's character would lead out on something, and then his other friend, which I forgot his name.
Ted.
Yeah, Ted, would kind of, like, not try to steal it from him, but, like, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it first came, you know, you saw him in, like, you know, taking the first romantic relationship and then trying to, like, get into the business of, like, his Holiday Inn, and then his second romantic relationship. It just kind of felt like, you know, that those dynamics were not cool.
Yeah, I mean, Lila is probably one of the least good things about this movie because she's just like somebody who's going back and forth between the men.
Yeah, she's definitely someone who is out for herself.
Yes.
She played the men around her to try to gain what she wanted. And I don't know if it didn't work out in her favor, I think, towards the end.
Well, it did, because at the end, she was dancing alongside with Ted, which meant that they were back together.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was the other one.
No, Linda was with Jim.
Okay, so she ends up coming back to the fold.
Yeah, she does come back.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the reality is women like that exist. People like that exist.
Yeah.
And, like, the wonderful thing would be that they kind of go away and, like, have to learn their lesson. But, you know, this movie speaks into the fact that, like, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
You know, she definitely wasn't our favorite character. We saw how manipulative she was and how self-serving, and that kind of sucked.
It did suck, especially since in the beginning of the movie, she was dating Jim, but then she left Jim for Ted because she wanted to be famous, and then she left...
Yeah, he, like, gave her... He was giving her a better offer.
Yeah.
And the next guy who came along, thought was a better offer.
Yeah, he was a Texas millionaire or something. And she left a telegram on Ted's table saying, "Hey, I'm leaving for this millionaire. Goodbye."
Yeah, and when she broke it off with the other guy in the beginning, she was in a romantic relationship with him, and he was the one, like, that sought out and found a farm for them to live their life together.
Yes.
Yet when it was time to break the news, she expected, like, the agent and the friend to be the one to deliver the news instead of her taking, like, any ownership or responsibility.
Right.
And, you know, there was a scene where she's like, "You haven't told him yet?" And we're sitting there like, "Ma'am, like, this is your relationship. It's your responsibility."
Yeah.
But so that character we didn't love, but I loved Bing Crosby's character. I loved the other girl, which, forgive me, this is the first time I've seen this movie, so I don't know and remember the characters. But
Well, the girl who falls in love with Jim is named Linda.
I liked her character. I thought she's like an up-and-coming... Well, she's trying to be an up-and-coming star. It doesn't even seem like she's trying to be a star. I think she just has passion for singing and dancing, and she's trying to find a break where she can kind of perform.
Yes.
And she finds that, and I think it opens the door for her to be, like, have that romantic relationship. But what I really loved is they kind of put these two women together side by side, and they showed you that just because these two women both have, like, a passion or a desire to perform, they're not the same, and they won't react the same to the situation. And I think Ben Crosby's character was so afraid that the same thing would happen, like history would repeat itself, that he tried to keep her from, like, essentially, like, leaving him and deserting him.
Yeah.
But she's someone who's different, and she decided in the long haul to stay with him.
Exactly.
And work with him and live with him.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this Christmas special is that it plays throughout multiple holidays. It just doesn't focus on Christmas. There's focusing on Lincoln's birthday, Valentine's Day, Washington's birthday,
Yeah, there was a lot of
Day.
president stuff and a lot of patriotism, which...
Makes a lot of sense because this movie did come out in 1942.
Yeah, and that was, like, a really big thing then. But watching it over, to me, it was a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And there were some other scenes, too, which I'm not going to take too much time to speak into, because we know it's evident of the time, and so we're not excusing it because of that, but we're just we're going to limit our opinions about it. But it was definitely uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah, so there are some scenes that are very, very uncomfortable for anybody who has not seen the film.
Yeah. I mean, this is 1942, and this is Hollywood in America, and so people of color, when represented, are not going to be represented favorably. It wasn't like horrendous in the sense that there was violence or aggression, but it definitely was like the division of class you could see.
Yeah.
And the characters and just some other things that honestly we did not enjoy nor feel comfortable. And I think, to be quite honest, that might be one of the main reasons why that movie doesn't, like, why White Christmas, for instance, if we're comparing the two, because when I was watching, I kept asking Patty, like, hey, this kind of, like, has a lot of themes to White Christmas that's a little bit disturbing, and Patty kind of would clue me into why they were similar in the ways that they were connected.
Yeah.
And I think maybe one of the reasons why White Christmas I think there's a couple of other reasons, but one of the main reasons why maybe White Christmas is more successful is because it doesn't have those scenes or those moments that make people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so, like, even though the Holiday Inn has some really nice moments to it, it's a funny, cute story, and it's pretty and, indicative of the time.
Sure.
When you are sitting through some of these uncomfortable scenes, it makes it hard to be like, yeah, this is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just let you know, Lincoln's birthday is definitely like the biggest red flag that happens in the entire movie. Yeah. So if you want to like skip over it, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I think that there's, like, I enjoy older movies because the craftsmanship, like, the talent is there.
Yes.
These people could sing, they could dance, they can act, they played instruments, they, just you name it, and they have that talent, you know what I mean? And so that's enjoyable to watch.
We also really love the costumes.
We love the costumes, but I think if we're gonna kind of move into now the things I didn't love so much about it, it seems so much like White Christmas. Like, there was moments where a lot of the scenes, like the hotel itself, looked a lot like the farmhouse from White Christmas. The whole concept of the show and dance, the whole concept of, those kind of things I didn't love.
Yeah, in fact, I actually read somewhere that Fred Astaire was originally supposed to play as Bing Crosby's companion in White Christmas, but he wasn't available at the time, so that's how they got Danny Kaye to be in the role.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay, though, because then it would have been like Holiday Inn Part 2.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's already closely enough related. But I do personally, recognize the differences and appreciate the differences. I think there was some holiday, like, obviously some Christmas themes, which we enjoyed. You're right. It's not like an overall Christmas movie.
No.
And I think we can see why sometimes people see it as a holiday movie. But I think that there are some things that, for me personally, make it that it's not, the top of my list as just favorites.
Yeah, now we can finally go over to our ratings. So, how would we watch this? So, every year, every few years, or once and never again?
I wouldn't say once and never again, but I wouldn't put it on my every year. No way. Mm-hmm. Not because it's horrible. Honestly, it's not horrible, but it's just... I personally like White Christmas more.
Yeah, me too.
And if I'm looking for that kind of feel, those similar themes, I'm going in that direction.
Yeah.
Especially since that one is more heavily based in Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, I would probably watch it once and then a very long while from now.
Yeah, I'll probably be the same.
Years down the road.
Yeah, me too. I'll probably watch it once and then maybe in the next 4 or 5 years, then I'll probably watch it again.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have, again, like, we are not trying to find any excuse for anything, or validation for anything, because number one, we're also women of color, so we sit here and we can feel very uncomfortable through the scene, but yeah, it's just, it feels strange to, like, even though we know that in that time what they were depicting was normal to them and was fine, fast forward what, 70 years?
Yeah, more or less.
75 years, and it is not comfortable.
Yeah.
Which, you know, of course, like, that's a long time and things change, but I think that's one of the main reasons why it doesn't end up being something that I can feel comfortable is and it's not just one scene. There's maybe like 3 or 4 throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh, here we go again, and we're like, you know.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's rate it. So, how many Santas?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I will probably, and I'm not trying to be too critical because, again, like, all the other themes of the movie were fine, and I like the storyline. I really like the storyline. Probably 2.5 though.
I was gonna say the same thing. 2.5.
Yeah, like 2.5.
Yeah. The dancing's really good.
Good.
And all that stuff. There was just a couple of things that just really weigh it down.
Yeah, I agreed.
So if you really want to tune into a story that's very similar to this with similar characters and similar choreography, then I would prefer White Christmas.
For sure.
All right, so that is it for our discussion of Holiday Inn. Let us know in the comments below about your thoughts of Holiday Inn. Would you watch it every year, every few years, or once and never again? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe over to the channel. Tune in tomorrow as we're going to be talking about another Christmas movie or special. Until then, see you later.
Bye, guys.
Gaze upon the sky, Christmas on my mind, somewhere from a place up high above. There's a song of love, travel